All right, y'all. This is this is going to be relatively quick. I just a lot of thoughts have been going through my mind. So I could really probably talk for forever. But let's just do a quick one because I do have to leave shortly. So that's kind of why I'm doing this because I got a hard stop. So it's going to prevent me from from talking for an hour or so. Hold on. Here's the deal. Young Smitty comes in hot. Do you think Kentucky football team this coming season is going to be better than this year's team? Maybe no idea. That's a hard question. There's going to be a little more excitement because we got a new coach. That is a definite. You know what? I was going to, I got to control my thoughts. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to talk about. One thing to me that the NIL is doing that is not taken into account. Here's the deal. College sports have become pro sports like. And it's always been that way, but there were always guardrails. Student, athlete, athlete, student, how you want to call it, that right or wrong gave guardrails to college football. Now those guardrails are gone. And here's the thing that happens with free agency. So that's what we're having with NIL in the portal. Is you don't know if the pieces are going to fit. And there's no way to rectify your mistake in thinking that the pieces will fit. At least in the NFL, NBA, etc., there is a trade deadline. So let's say, for example, Team A picks up Van Hiles on the portal, thinking he's going to be a great fit, and find out he is a bad fit. And then I can trade Van Hiles to the other suitor that thought Van Hiles was going to be a great fit for them. What happens now is if it doesn't fit, you are stuck with it. And that person is going to, back in the day, you could, in essence, make a kid's life so bad that you kind of force him to want to leave. Nowadays, with money on the table, there's nothing you can do to a kid that can force him to want to leave because he's getting paid. There's got to be a way, in my opinion. So, for example, the basketball team. I don't talk a lot about basketball because there's enough opinions and tweets and thought process on Twitter that you don't need an extra voice. But I'm going to say a little bit, then I'm probably going to get off. So Mark Pope last year went in the portal and was very fortunate to find guys that fit. They fit together. They were able to see Mark Pope's vision of the offense. With injuries, things happen, but for the most part, that offense fit Mark Pope's vision. It's the same thing with, in my opinion, Tubby Smith back when I was in school. When Tubby Smith tried to elevate, I'm going to say, talent of players, when Tubby started having issues. Same thing with Pope. I think Pope went after guys that character-wise doesn't fit what he wants out of this team. There is a same thing with Mark Stoops. Mark Stoops started to once he won that second 10 win, had that second 10 win season, he started to go after certain type of players. Those certain type of players was adverse to the culture that he had created the entire time before going after those certain kind of players. So Mark Pope went after certain kind of players that just doesn't fit. And it goes to a point of where people are saying, well, we could have had X player, Z player, whatever. As a coach, I'm going down with players that I feel like I can coach who fits what I want and see from my program. Sometimes as fans, you see something different. For example, Van Howes is one of the better players in college basketball, and Mark Pope's won him. And we go sit down for a conversation, and we don't mesh. Mark Pope doesn't like what I'm saying, and I don't like what Pope is saying. A lot of people say that those are misses. They could be misses. I don't know. But as a former player, I was in a I'll tell you the story. So I'm gonna just put this hypothetical. So I want certain things out of my next college, and Coach Pope wants something out of me that's different from what I want to give. Therefore, it might not be a miss because I really want to go to Kentucky, but once I hear the coach out, it's not in alignment. So I'm gonna tell you this. This is, man, I wish I could get my dad and mom on to second this statement. So my recruitment went like this, y'all. I don't know if I sent a tweet out about Jeff Bauer and Southern Miss and Coach Huff, and like I said, karma's a bitch. All right. So 1990, it would have been 1992, I guess, through my football season. 91, really, Southern Miss was the first team to come after me. I love Southern Miss staff. I wanted to go there. And I was going there. And Coach Jackson was telling me that Southern Miss has mechanical engineering. They didn't. So when I went there to sign or commit, and I went through the whole visit, you go through academics and stuff, and they said, no, we don't have it in me. I had to tell Coach, dude, I can't come here. So Southern Miss was my number one choice. If you're an old head, Southern Miss back in those days was an independent and was wreaking havoc on the SEC. So Mississippi State was another college that I really want to go to. Jackie Sherrill was the coach. God, I can't remember who the DB coach was. The DB coach I really felt good about. Felt like I could have him coach me for 4 years. So we go through recruiting visit. They have in me. I'm like, man, it's far enough away from home, but not far enough away where I can't come home whenever I wanted to. Get into Jackie Sherrill's office. And we're in alignment at this time. Defensive coordinator, DB coach, we're in alignment. Academics, some of the players. Then I get in the meeting room with Jackie Sherrill. And Jackie Sherrill basically, I can't say word for word verbatim, but something to the fact of, if you do not come to Mississippi State, you will not be a really good football player. And it was colorful words put in there. It was something like, you won't turn into shit or whatever. And I think it was Joe Lee. My mind goes blank because of what Jackie Sherrill did. So when we were in the moment, going to his office, which is a nice office, going to his office was about to say, Coach, we feel good about potentially committing. He said those words. And I looked at my parents, I'm like, so that goes to the thing of just because a kid wants to go to a university, there are some things that can turn you off. There's also some things a kid can say, I've heard this before, when they get in a meeting that can turn a coach off. Sometimes I know you want to blame someone, but I'm not sure that if a kid comes to Kentucky in any sport, in this day and age, really spend their time at a university, that it's a miss, it's a whiff. Sometimes the coaches see a vision and what he wants out of his collective of players. And sometimes, even though that guy is a stud, the coach, right or wrong, feels like it's not a great fit. And then we both amicably say, okay, we're going to go somewhere else. Well, Mike, what do you think about Carey? We going to. So that's all I'm saying, y'all. Is sometimes, and the bad part about it is you would never know the whole story, the true story from both sides. Because somebody is not going, someone is going to try to protect somebody else. UK basketball will never be the same. UK was a powerhouse, then Cal turned into a ticket to the NBA. See, Benji is a fan. Here's what I can tell you. All those players that went to the NBA still holds Kentucky deep in their heart. So that ain't the reason. It's like Nebraska in football. Sometimes the ebbs and flows of athletics doesn't deem you as the power anymore. That's just, it's hard to accept, but that's just what it is. UK isn't in the shitter. At least we are going to the tournament. At least we're having decent seasons. If you have seen Nebraska football, man, it is not very good. It went through years of problem. I just think it's a thing of, and I'm gonna say this. It's gonna piss people off. I'm gonna say this. Sometimes fans are entitled to, we're Kentucky, we should always win. It's not always that easy. Um, there's more to it than just, as people will say, just the brand on the front. There's, as some people have said, maybe Pope isn't the right person. Because here's the deal. There are some coaches, I'm gonna say this. How much was 11:30? Okay. Here's the thing about coaching. Phil Jackson has been labeled one of the best coaches in, some people say, in the history of basketball. Phil Jackson, in essence, if you really think about it, when he didn't have elite players, or when he didn't have Tex Winter, didn't work out as well, right? Sometimes your best coaches are unfortunately able to show their ability to coach and teach because they're on a lower level and never get the chance with the big boys. And sometimes those coaches are smart enough to know that you can't handle, as a coach, I can't handle certain personalities. And sometimes when you elevate yourself, the personality of the players change. And if you are humble enough to understand that, you will stay where you can elevate and develop kids at lower levels instead of going to the higher level where the kids are different. And that might be the issue with Pope. Because at Kentucky, fans want to see studs. Like Cal had. Like Patino had. You know how I left the Tubby off? Because people didn't appreciate some of the Tubby players until years later. So maybe Pope wants to play a certain style of ball that studs don't want to come play for or play for. Maybe some studs want to say, hey, coach, give me the ball and let me make a play happen. Rather than running sets and concepts and zoom action and all this, like maybe some players want to say, hey, give me the damn ball, one up top, four down, and let me operate and let me create plays for myself and my teammates. But let's run P&R, coach. Like, sometimes you have to be honest and say that it's more than just, we want to place blame on somebody. And sometimes there is no blame. Sometimes it's variables to the blame. It's not just on one person. Just like a lot of people want to blame Mitch. I don't know inside information. I'm not in Lexington, and I'm not in that circle to even know all that, but it's a tough one to blame everything on Mitch. And like I've said on the locker, tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, everybody has the ball. Mitch has to answer to someone above him. Sometimes it's bigger than the person that y'all think is the problem. So that's all I got, y'all. Button up against my hard ceiling. Just want to get some things off my chest. Hope y'all have a good rest of your day. I promise that I will be a little more consistent, and I really haven't held to that promise, but I'm gonna try to do better. So y'all have a good rest of your day, and I'll see y'all hopefully sooner than later.